please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
It's taking some positive cues coming in from the Wall Street. The Asian markets, they've opened mixed.
So it looks like these trade tensions may be starting to ease off a little bit.
There goes the bell, and the first trade is 2 points higher, now 5 points higher, so 11,140, 141. Sensex hits a new record. It's making a habit of it. 36,974 now.
Flirting with that level for a very, very long time. And finally, Lata, it hit that record.
Yeah, it did hit.
I think it's definitely going to broaden out because I think we've already seen a sort of shift take place in the last 1 week, wherein the outperformers of the last 4 months have seen a little bit of profit booking.
About 10 odd stocks, it could be 9 or it could be 11, which have delivered 10% or more. And you have a Bajaj Finance up there at 55, 60% kind of return. And you have more than 20 stocks which have fallen 10% or more.
Nifty and the Sensex are at all-time highs, but there is a lot in terms of wanting for a lot of stocks, which are of 30 to 40% from their all-time highs.
Top line is absolutely in line with estimates. The sales volumes have gone up by 24.3%.
Good afternoon. Well, that's been the day so far, all-time highs, and yet it's getting very, very quiet out there. The benchmark indices just back to the flat line right now. The mid-caps are having relatively a better day, and the interesting facet is the way banks have outperformed today. A lot of that is also getting undone, but some very sharp selling coming in the last 15-20 minutes of trade. This is Closing Bell. I'm Surabhi Upadhyay, and joining me this afternoon is Sonia. Hi, Sonia.
Hi, good afternoon. It's also the result reactions, right? I mean, look at the way Yes Bank is moving now. Almost 6% knockdown on that stock. In fact, the volumes are really piling up on Yes Bank, and even something like a Maruti, reacting to numbers. So I guess there's no scope for any disappointment in any numbers this time. The market is in a mood to penalize even the smallest negatives in the numbers. But let's tell you what's lined up on the show today. Markets cool off after hitting record highs. Bank stocks remain strong. What's the trading strategy now? Ashwini Gujral and Mitesh Thakkar will join in on the show. Ahead of F&O expiry, we'll also get chatting with Yogesh Mehta of Motilal Oswal. Maruti, Yes Bank, Colgate, all reacting negatively to their earnings. We await ITC's numbers. All this and more with our fundamental experts, SP Tulsian, market expert Prakash Diwan, and Abhimanyu Sofat of IIFL.
Okay, there's plenty of ground to cover. Let's get cracking. First up with the call with our technical experts, Ashwini and Mitesh joining in. Ashwini, now we were having this conversation earlier on, in middle of the day itself, and you were a little circumspect about the nature of this rally. What would the call be on the Nifty? Is there a trade on the Nifty Bank? What would you do after seeing the run-up and now the fall?
Well, there is still hope, and Bank Nifty is kind of maintaining the upside. Now, if corporate banks start to come up, that's the kind of leadership you want. Otherwise, you hit your new high by 5 points and then you collapse. You need certain large stocks to move up 4-5% day on day, and then you will safely get beyond those new highs. If you see today, if you have 4% each on ICICI and State Bank, that gives you a lot of stability. But if that is not there and you have 0.5% here and 1% there moves, then it becomes a problem to hold new highs. So that way, I would think that these corporate lenders should have more to go, and we should see not only short covering, but if good news starts coming out from corporate lenders and bad news from retail lenders, so chances are that money moves into these corporate guys. So that way, for the last hour, I think ICICI Bank is a buy with a stop of 280, target of 295. State Bank is a buy with a stop of 280, target of 293. And BOB is a buy with a stop of 134, target of 146. This should be the way to go, maybe for the next few days. But overall, the market is lacking leadership. That is the reason every day by afternoon, people are disappointed.
Okay, yes. For Yes Bank, particularly, slippages have gone up quarter on quarter. Provisioning has gone up. Gross NPAs have gone up. That's something that the street has definitely not liked. But Ashwini, just one follow-up on Yes Bank. You know, this is a stock that has given investors great returns in the past. At least it's always made higher tops and higher bottoms. It's not had a major correction. If you look at the last 2 years, you advise investors to sort of book profits and move out of this. You think the run is done on Yes Bank, or should one still hold on?
See, it's not going out of business, but it has underperformed in the last, 1.5 years. It's been in this range of, 300 and 370, 375. So that way your stop is probably closer to 330 in a good environment where it's, beating estimates, etc. Maybe it can go back up to 450. I would buy this dip on Yes Bank. And my sense is that once the market gets over this disappointment, it should make new highs.
Okay, well, right now, Yes Bank is seeing a fair amount of pressure because of the slippage number that we've seen. That's not been very comforting. Slippage is going above 500 crores instead of being stable or declining. We'll analyze the fundamentals in a bit, but let's get more technical trading ideas as well. Mitesh, how are you looking at the day so far, and what would your last hour calls be?
Yeah. So, good afternoon. I think, what I can possibly spot is some kind of trend developing on the upside on the Bank Nifty, primarily led by the PSU banking lot, while the Nifty IT on the intraday chart after many weeks is now showing signs of breakdowns and some profit booking. So, maybe over the next few days, as we are closer to the all-time highs, we will just consolidate between 11,070 to about 11,170, and maybe this churn will take place when some of the IT stocks might go through profit booking kind of scenario. But overall, I think that the trend is still on the upside, so I would not be really worried despite the fact that we have kind of come off from the day's high. And eventually, I think this is a market which remains to be traded more on the long side. For the time being though, I have a sell and a buy call from the IT names. I think TCS on the intraday charts, on the hourly charts, is now showing some kind of weakness. So I would sell with a stop at 1982, a very tight stop loss, and look for targets of around 1940 to about 1935. And M&M Finance, I think, has given a good price and volume breakout. I think that's a buy with a stop at 497. Look for a first target of 535, though I suspect eventually the stock can see much higher levels.
Okay, well, the stock of the moment clearly is J&K Bank. Just look at that. It's up 12% right now. The asset quality has improved a tad bit on a quarter-on-quarter basis. So net NPAs have fallen a tad bit. And I think the gross NPAs have also fallen. Profits are much higher than what the poll had thrown up. But don't forget that this is a stock that has halved in the last 1 year. So I guess maybe some sort of, recovery from the lows, or maybe short covering, I'm not sure. But the stock has eroded a lot of wealth of investors, traders in the last 1 year. But numbers this time around not looking too bad. Some improvement in asset quality. The other stock I wanted to pull up is Heidelberg Cement. Very good numbers this time around. Margins have surged to 22% versus 15% earlier. And that stock has also risen about 3%. Let's discuss all of these stocks with Mr. S.P. Tulsian. He joins into our conversation now. Mr. Tulsian, hi, good afternoon. The first stock I wanted to discuss with you is your views on Colgate. It's been a market share loss once again this time around. Volume growth is now low single digits for Colgate. Would you still keep the faith here, or are you now cautious on this name?
No, Sonia, I'll be keeping cautious view, because if you really see the performance on a sequential basis also, the things have, as just 4% volume growth, and if I just take the PBT also fell from 276 crore to 251 crores. It is only the exceptional gain of 34 crores in this quarter against minus 11 crore in the sequential quarter, that is Q4. The things are looking slightly respectable on the bottom line, but the kind of struggle which the Colgate has seen making, and the stock having moved to a level of 1250 and now corrected to the level of about 1100 or so after these numbers, I don't think that this stock qualifies a buy, even looking to these numbers having release come by the company just now.
Okay. Well, the stock of the afternoon from the large cap space would have to be, of course, Yes Bank. Looking at the market's mood, the market's choosing to pay a lot more attention to the asset quality details than to the 54, 53% loan growth that they've done year on year. 5.5% down. Still no sign of buyers on Yes Bank. Mr. Tulsian, what's your dissection of this? What they've claimed is that in this slippage number of 500 odd crores, they're claiming they'll get recovery of about 250, 300 crores. What would you pay more weightage to, the asset quality issue or the loan growth?
See, I think I'll give more weightage to loan growth, and I agree that the banks will, because in fact this is the behavior we have seen in case of Yes Bank in Q3 also, when they had the provision seen getting increased and having recovered by them in Q4. Because if you really take a call on any of the banks, I think the credit growth is very important for any banks to take a call, and if you have this kind of credit growth, I think that is required to be given more credence. Now, coming on 2 or 3 results, if I just want to point out, one is Yes Bank and the second is Maruti. I don't find any reason. There may be, the poll of the expectations and all that. But if you really see I don't find honestly any of the problems in respect to both the numbers. And in spite of that, the stocks are correcting simply because we have seen these stocks having moved up in this last maybe couple of months or maybe last 2-3 months, and probably the valuations call. Take the case of third result, J&K Bank. I don't think that J&K Bank has really given any kind of positive surprises. It is only the absence of the negatives, which is leading to the shares to move up, because the stock has corrected in this last maybe couple of months or 2-3 months by about 40%. And so market is now, in fact, I would say that this is a very good sign that the valuations are getting corrected, because the earlier the 10-15 stocks where the market was seen hiding are now getting corrected, maybe on the pretext of the results disappointment. Because I won't be disappointed with Yes Bank with the slippages having increased, because if you see the other parameters of the loan growth or maybe the asset quality on the net NPA front and all those things, they are all good. And even maybe on the segment wise, maybe treasury income has shown a higher EBIT, but if you take a call on the retail or corporate wholesale banking, they are all seen very much in place, return on assets of 1.6%. So I think these are all giving a good opportunity of entering into the frontliners, maybe like Maruti if it corrects to the level of about 9,300, or maybe Yes Bank if it corrects to a level of about 340 or so.
Okay, so use this adversity as an opportunity in both of these stocks. They're the top losers today, by the way, Maruti and Yes Bank, down about 3.5-4% But remember, it could be just profit taking as well, post numbers. Before we get Prakash Diwan in, by the way, the Bank Nifty is now up almost 1%. So pretty stellar in terms of gains for the Bank Nifty today, led by SBI, ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, etc. Doing pretty well. Mr. Tulsian, also, Force Motors numbers just came out, look pretty good. 20% revenue growth, almost a 40% profit growth. That stock is spiking up. You've tracked this stock for, I don't know, maybe a decade now. You expect it to continue to perform well, and what would the rationale be for investors?
See, Sonia, in fact, for whole of FY18, if you see on a quarterly basis, also the Force Motor has disappointed, and there was again a lot of exuberance because of the orders, and the Mercedes and BMW kind of companies, they have all been servicing. But on face of it, I have not yet analyzed the numbers, but looking to the PAT of about 40 crore against 30 crore, they are seeing, optically better. But actually, as of now, I think the stock is seen out of focus, and I don't think that unless until you take a closure analysis of the numbers having reported by the company, you should plunge into the stock in this rally. I think the stock is up by about 3-4%.
Okay, well, the market's flat on the Nifty now. Stock on the move is Hindalco. One is anticipating that we'll get the formal announcement of the deal perhaps post-market hours today. It's right now in negative territory, Hindalco, but yet it's off the lows. That's the kind of price action that we are seeing on this stock. We also have Prakash Diwan joining in. Prakash, flurry of earnings coming in today. Now, the one that we haven't discussed so far is actually Tata Power. I don't know if you had a closer look at the stock, but the revenue number was ahead of expectations. And if not Tata Power, something else that stood out for you?
Yeah, I think some of the numbers that you saw, of course, Maruti is the one that we'll love to talk about, but sure. I'm sure with Sonia around, that must have been done quite intensively. But,
We did it together.
Yeah, no, and then there's Colgate, which came through, so we really couldn't carry that discount forward. But I think today's market is telling us something very seriously, that the market is recognizing that even mid-caps are delivering on earnings. It's no more a Nifty large cap driven this thing. So if somebody is, still wanting to get some sort of a validation whether, mid caps have come down to reasonable valuations, with these earnings, that validation in fact seems more accelerated. So you have this PE contraction which has happened significantly from the top, and then you have the EPS move up, gradually, which is distinctly happening. So I don't see any reason why the month of August mid caps would not make a big comeback. People are talking about 2019 being tough because of elections, and I don't think you can change or take that away. But micros are definitely far better than what people had penciled in, and I think that's what you need to look at. Smaller numbers, you look at all small companies right from this whole of this week from Monday onwards, it's been so positive. So yes, quite positive on this, and particularly cement. I think that's an area that the government also has been making the right kind of indication, giving the right kind of indication that they would want housing and this particular sector to do well. So lots to pick from.
Okay, just the kind of optimism we need this afternoon, Prakash. But I take your point on cement. After ACC and Ambuja, Heidelberg has also done pretty well this quarter around. So that seems to be the space to be in. Let's take a break, but it's F&O expiry, don't forget. So when we come back, we'll get chatting with Yogesh Mehta of Motilal Oswal. Hi, welcome back. Well, Sandeep Wagle is with us to tell us how to approach the last 45 minutes of trade. It's a pretty good screen, actually. The headline index may not reflect it. Below the surface, there's plenty of action. The mid-caps are now up almost 0.5%. Sandeep, hi, afternoon. What would you buy or sell for trade in the last half hour?
Afternoon, Sonia. I would go with a buy in a Mahindra and Mahindra Finance, stop loss of 500, target of 540. And a sell in a TVS Motors, stop loss of 525, target 505.
Okay. All right, Sandeep. Thanks very much for getting us those trading ideas. By the way, there are some buyers who are coming to Yes Bank. Stock is down but off the lows. There's some recovery from the lows. It's down about 3.5%, 4% actually, to be more precise. Let's get the intraday on Yes Bank up on your screens. 367 is the price for the time being. Yes Bank should come up. In the meantime, Mr. Tulsi, and the other stock I wanted to discuss with you was Shriram Transport Finance. What did you think of the internals? I think the loan growth has been around 23-24%. And it's a remarkable recovery for the stock from the lows when, those sort of corporate guarantee issues had plagued the stock.
That's right. In fact, first, if I come on the results, I think the stock has come in the trajectory of 100 rupees EPS, and that itself, gives a very positive signal, company having posted an EPS of 25 rupees. And you are right, in fact, company had taken a huge beating on that SVL guarantee, and at that time also we have said, in fact, we have been initiating a buy call, maybe at around 1150 when it corrected. And when this load increase also came in that news, and that on that day also the stock corrected without realizing that this is in fact seen quite positive for the Shriram Transport, because they being the largest financiers to the second-hand truck. And on that day also we initiated our buy call, and I think that situation is seen to be quite positive. In fact, I'm waiting for the results of Cholamandalam also, which are due today, and the Shriram Transport. So yes, the results have really cheered, but I don't think that there is any point after having seen moved about maybe 150 rupees post this results to 1450 level. You allow the probably the profit booking will come, because what is happening in the market, that yes, if the stock is seeing any kind of momentum on the post numbers, which we have seen in case of L&T Finance and Federal Bank, the same momentum may not last for a very long time, because traders they build up their long positions, they don't have patience, and then they start exiting. So I won't be advising to buy the Shriram Transport now, maybe for the traders as well as for investors. But yes, the results are seen to be quite good, excellent numbers seen from the company.
Okay, well, Prakash, same question to you. A lot of these companies, great businesses, but mired in some controversy or the other, right? Whether it's Shriram Transport, whether it's Ashok Leyland, whether it's Symphony lately, because of weak numbers, maybe trend is changing there. But anything that you would buy on a dip?
Oh, quite a few. So, if you look at the consumption theme, and particularly when you go to white goods, we've particularly seen a shift towards high-end usage by most people, and as we get into more of electricity reaching newer centers, you will see people moving up the value chain. So we'd identified Voltas as one of the plays. Now, remember, they have an engineering business. They have the unitary cooling products, which is the air conditioning, air coolers thing. They have water coolers. So, you have a host of businesses and product streams that are doing well for them. So I think it's lost some ground, it's regaining. So there's lots happening. And the other thing, if white goods players, forget Voltas, if Havells and everything else is also going to do well, one of the biggest consumption that these guys have is of stainless steel. And if you look at some of the names like Jindal, Hisar, stainless, which came down all the way from 230 a year back to, almost 130, and it's now kind of post results, it's trying to make a claw back, into some sort of positive zone. These are companies that are available today at very good valuations and with a very difficult business that they've mastered in terms of scale. So, you'll have to go with things that turn around faster, Sonia, and that's what we are trying to identify. Everything looks attractive at a price, but just because it's low doesn't mean the prices are low, doesn't mean that you need to buy into it. So be selective, don't end up having a portfolio of too many small caps, mid caps, but some of the turnaround cases, which I mentioned, could probably be very good for your next 2-3 months.
Okay, by the way, there's some weakness building on RIL. Let's just pull up the stock. It's fallen off a little bit. Some selling in the last 20-30 odd minutes of trade. It's down about 0.5%. That's its approach to the numbers tomorrow. Infosys is down about 1% for the time being. So these are some of the pockets where there is a little bit of caution, or you could say some profit taking that is coming in. Mr. Tulsian, tomorrow is of course the day of reckoning for RIL. How would you look at this stock given the run-up?
See, I think that generally, we are seeing that after the Q4, after the quarterly numbers, the stock seen getting corrected. But this time, probably, I think the situation may not be there, because I'm expecting, in fact, market is quite, apprehensive on the refining segments. But I'm expecting, we have estimated GRM of at about $10.9, including the inventory gain of 30 cents, because if you take the crude having risen by about 11%, but Petchem will really surprise with the refinery off gas cracker plant having commenced 6 months back, and the advantage of that has seen, flowing in the Q4 as well. So I think overall we are expecting company to post a PAT of about 9,870 crore, which should really cheer the market, because the market will be keeping an eye on the retail and Jio, both the segments also, which will be because the additions of the Jio and the tally of 220 million plus subscriber is already in the public domain. So all these things will really be seen quite positive, and I am neutral on refining but quite gung-ho on the Petchem segment and the Jio segments going forward.
Okay, tomorrow's going to be a long day for us. The numbers coming out in the evening, and generally they delay quite a bit. So I guess, morning to evening, we've got to chug along on Reliance's numbers. But standard disclosure there, owner of the company that you're watching, or the channel that you're watching rather. Flat for the markets now. Bank Nifty still up almost about 1%, but let's find out what we should be doing today. It's F&O expiry. Let's thank Mr. Tulsian first for joining us. Mr. Tulsian, thanks a lot. We still have Prakash with us, so we're going to get a few more views from him. Yogesh Mehta of Motilal Oswal also joins in. Yogesh, hi, good afternoon. Your thoughts on how to approach today, and more importantly, what does the next series throw up? I mean, it was a good July series, up 5% for the index, up about 4% for mid-caps. Do you expect the positive trend to continue?
Yeah, see, for Nifty, we had seen that the last expiry was 10,590, and we have seen all the way to 11,130 today, or 170, which it has surpassed. So that seems that, Nifty has already seen a large run-up of 5.13%, and the Bank Nifty, which was very much into range bound, can see some bounce from here led by PSU banks, as we have seen a strong run-up. So this expiry, we believe that 150 plus minus 10 points would be the expiry for this July series. And in August series, unless until we breach on decisively about 11,250 level, this is the new high they have created today, but 11,250 remains a strong hurdle. So unless until it closes very decisively with confidence, we cannot say that upside for Nifty will continue or not. So that is a question mark for next series. But Bank Nifty, however, it seems that it was in a consolidation, and upside is now the next level we are looking at in August, that it might cross the all-time high of 27,000 11,850. So that needs to be watched out, led by PSU Bank and some of the private sector banks.
I was just going to come on that, Yogesh. In fact, if you could expand on that, within the banking universe, what is the data now suggesting, the roll data, long short positions, etc., specifically on some of these corporate lenders? PSU names, yes, like SBI, but even stocks like Axis or ICICI Bank. What's the F&O data suggesting here for the next series?
For the next series, especially in ICICI Bank, there is a long build-up which is suggesting right now on the data front for the next series. So there we can see some momentum, likely momentum could be built up there on the long side. Axis Bank is still, however, not showing any sign of signs. It's still struggling between 545 and 530. And option data does not signify anything as of now on the long build-up or the short build-up. It is just a carry forward has happened on a neutral basis. And PSU Bank, SBI has seen some short covering today, and the Canara Bank. So there it seems that open interest has reduced, but long build-up is getting built up into the August series in both the PSU banks.
Okay. Any other trades that you'd want to tell us about? Anything that interests you right now?
Yeah, the interesting seems to be SBI. That current price is 285 odd in the August series, keeping a stop loss of 275. Target could be in the range of 300 to 305. That is a long positions we are suggesting. And HDFC Limited, again Nifty, if it has to continue its rally towards 11 to 50, then HDFC is the contributor, could be the contributor. Current price is 2023 in the August series, keeping a stop loss of 1995 or target could be in the range of 2080. So these are the stocks which we are recommending on the long side.
Okay, Yogesh, just stay on with us. I think we should be getting Dr. Reddy's numbers any moment now. The expectation is that it should be a better quarter, particularly for the India business, because it's a low base. There's a GST disruption that took place as well. So therefore, the India numbers specifically could look good. And the expectation from the US is also fairly decent growth, at least 4 to 5% growth. Okay, that's the first set of numbers that's coming through. The profit figure itself, okay, that's a pretty handsome bottom line figure, and the stock is at least getting excited on that to begin with. The revenue expectation that we're working with is around 10%. Hopefully, some stability in US pricing pressure is what the market is penciling in. Okay, revenue 3721. That's a handsome number, Sonia, to begin with.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good number. Both year on year and quarter on quarter, it's a good jump that we're seeing. 3721 compares to 3315 same time last year. So that's a decent jump. Even the profit number actually is pretty good. Look at that EBITDA number. 807 crores is the EBITDA versus a poll of 621 odd crores. I'm just reading from the press release itself. This time around, the SG&A expenses have gone up by about 3%, but quarter on quarter it's flat. Okay, GV Prasad says, I'm pleased with our first quarter results, aided by the launch of Subuxon. Our focus has been on operational efficiencies, and that has helped in significantly improving the margin profile. Looking ahead, while we may continue to experience price erosion in the North America generics market, we will also continue to drive growth and cost efficiencies at the same time. So these look like a good set of numbers. I'll just tell you the breakup geography-wise. The North America business has seen a year-on-year growth of about 6% and a quarter-on-quarter growth of 10%. So North America is looking pretty good. The European business is down, but India is up by 30%. So India is looking good. Emerging markets are also up by almost about 16%. So North America, India, emerging markets doing pretty well. Ekta, go ahead.
Well, actually, a very good set of numbers which is coming for Dr. Reddy's. I just want to caveat one thing with regards to Dr. Reddy's is that they have sold around $25 million of Suboxone, which is that anti-drug addiction drug, which is now under litigation with the innovator of the company. So they've stopped selling the drug in the US market till that outcome comes through. So there is around $25 million of sales which has come through for that particular drug in this market in this set of numbers. So that's probably boosted the North America sales that you're seeing of around 10% on a sequential basis. But you can't take away from the fact that India has delivered this time. So yes, it has come on a low base because same time last year, India was sluggish, impacted because of GST. But nonetheless, it's reported around a 10% year-on-year growth. So good going on that front. Plus, they have said that emerging markets is up around 16% as well.
So India growth is actually up about 30% year on year.
Yeah.
The revenues have come in at 610
Exactly, because the same time last year, it was actually a GST-led disruption. So numbers were very subdued same time last year. So it was expected that, you know, it is going to bounce back in terms of numbers. What's happening is the margins also, because Dr. Reddy's has delivered margins of over 20% this quarter. Compare this to our poll of 17%, compare this to 10% same time last year. So it's a definite thumbs up which is coming in terms of the operating performance. What we need to understand is also how much of this particular set of numbers is because of probably Suboxone contributing, and how much of it is the base business in the US market which has contributed for Dr. Reddy's. So I think that would be important to watch out for. Some news on idea.
Okay, well, we'll focus on one stock at a time. Amit Chalke of HDFC Securities joins on the phone line. Amit, this looks like a good set of numbers. The emerging market growth has come in at 16%. India growth has come in at 30%. And the margins are also better than the street. What would your own view be on how to approach the stock here on?
So if you adjust the Suboxone numbers, then the numbers are kind of flattish on quarterly basis. So in that sense, if you adjust for the Suboxone, then numbers are in line with the street estimates, what I believe.
Okay. So how much, Ameya, are you factoring in from Suboxone this quarter? Because Indivior said that it was around $25 million that Dr. Reddy sold in the quarter gone by. So how much is it on a net basis? Around $15 million?
Yes.
So net, how do you think the business is done in North America? Base business, excluding Suboxone?
So excluding Suboxone, I guess there is a slight decline, single-digit decline sequentially. And on rupee terms, it is flat.
So which is why the question then, Ame, Suboxone was, of course, a great advantage, but given what you just said about the base US business, I mean, we only have one line of commentary as of now, where the management is still acknowledging that they may see continued price erosion in the US. Having said that, where does it leave the stock? What would your call be, given the rally that we saw in the month of June?
So, see, the rally was largely on the back of Suboxone launch, and I guess it has been delayed now till the litigation outcome is clear. So I believe in the commentary, the going ahead, the kind of launches they are expecting till that time would be the crucial for stock to move up from here.
Okay. I just want to point out that other markets have done well as well. So besides India, which is at around 607.4 crores in terms of sales, a 30% growth, it has been flat on a sequential basis, but emerging markets has performed for them, and the PSAI segment, which is pharma services and active ingredients, has risen 16% year on year. Ameya, just your quick thoughts on these two segments that I mentioned, plus the margins which have come in at 20%. X of Suboxone, how have they done on an operating level?
So India business performance is not surprising because it is on the back of favorable base of last year. So it is in line with my estimates.
Okay.
Other businesses have done well, but I believe they will not move the needle in terms of the street's view on the stock. And if they are showing good growth in the PSI segment, that will also lead to the poor business. Overall, on the margin front, I would say that if you adjust for the Suboxone, the margin should be in the range of 18 to 19%.
All right. Ameya, we leave it at that. Thanks so much for joining us. So that's Dr. Reddy's up about 3%. Before we take the final comments from Ekta, Prakash, I wanted your thoughts on this because, you know, Dr. Reddy's is one stock that has done nothing for investors. In fact, if you had bought the stock 2 years ago, you would have lost about 40% of your value. Yeah. Still low conviction despite good numbers?
Yeah, no, so I'll tell you what Ekta was mentioning. There's this whole contingent thing on whether the Suboxone judgment comes in their favor. It's an interim order that state things. So if that doesn't happen, all this revenue bump up that you see from US is it just going to go away? And mind you, the India business optically is looking great, but then QOQ it's just 1%. It's a negative 1%. Yeah. And if they keep on pumping into the resources for the PSI market, that's going to be, the blended margins will definitely get impacted. So this is not a story that will, be very convincing till you kind of match it with the positive news flow on Suboxone.
But for whatever it's worth, I mean, this number has been the lucky charm for the market. Go back to the Nifty now. From a flat line, look at the way the market's climbed back up. And it's the Nifty Bank that you've got to celebrate today if you're a bull. Look at the charge on SBI. Look at SBI, State Bank of India, 6% up on that stock. Look at the recovery that a Yes Bank is also tracking. Yes Bank is still down, but nonetheless, it's well off the lows. Some of the other stocks that have contributed just recently, ICICI Bank, 4.5% up. Corporate banks is what this market is really focusing on for the time being, and that's where the contribution is coming in. Even HDFC Bank, it's just banks all the way in the market today, Prakash.
Yeah, even if you look at that Idea Vodafone merger news, which was anyways, everybody knew it was coming.
They said they'll pay up 7,200 crores.
4%, 5%. Yeah. I mean, so the market is in a mood to celebrate positive news for today. So
yeah, it is.
Historic day, so everything goes.
Okay, look at the market, by the way. It is picking up quite a bit of pace. I mean, yeah, I think, it would just be, it would be good if the market ends on a high, right? It hit that new high today, so it just about needs to perhaps end on a high as well. 100 points up now on the Sensex. We'll take a short break on that note. When we come back, we still have about 20 more minutes to go. So we'll get you some buy today, sell tomorrow calls. Clearly, the momentum is in favor of the bulls right now. All right, let's cut across now to the management of Maruti. They are addressing the analysts post the numbers.
Last year in Q1. But we will keep a close watch in terms of commodities to see where they're heading to. At the moment, we don't see a significant upside from here. But it will also depend on what are the global factors that can have an impact on commodities. On your second point, regarding any price correction, etc., that's a decision that management will take based on many factors and not just one factor. And we will kind of look at our remaining period performance based on the current indicators. And if there's any call required, we will take it at that point in time.
Thank you, sir. And the second question is on the demand environment. If you can just provide some color as to how are you seeing the demand evolving, especially in the rural market where we have seen some few quarters of uptake now, and whether some of the urban markets, there's been some news reports, I don't know how accurate they are, that some of the key markets have actually at a city level, aggregate at the industry level, have seen declines. So if you can just make some quick comments on the demand, the way you're seeing, and how do you look at festive season on back of that, and particularly given the capacity constraints what we are facing, and any color on any change in the full year capacity what you're looking at for FY19.
Hi, this is R.S. Kalsi. Talking about the demand, I think we are on track and demand appears to be good if we go by Q1, performance, where we have grown more than the industry, and retails are also good. And as far as, rural markets are concerned, certainly there is a buoyancy, and we expect this buoyancy to go up further on two accounts. One is for the second consecutive year, the monsoon has been good. And second, a big increase in the MSP, which will certainly, bring more, money into circulation from the rural markets. So it appears to be, quite positive. Now, as far as city markets are concerned, yes, you are right. The growth is relatively less than the, rural markets. But nevertheless, we don't see any reason of concern there because as we move forward, these markets will pick up. There is a certain amount of seasonality also involved. Currently, entire country is under monsoon, and people won't like to, drive home a car through needed water, a new car. So there is a, certain, seasonality impact. But otherwise, moving forward, there's a, big optimism in terms of demand, and we look forward to a great festive season as well.
Capacity, sir?
As far as capacity is concerned, I think we should be able to meet demand because our SMG plant is supporting us from Gujarat, and also the second line will become operational early next year. Plus, a lot of, Kaizen activities happen at our existing plants as well, through which we try to, meet the demand.
Thanks a lot, sir, and best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sonal Gupta from UBS Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, sir. Thanks for taking my question. Could you just start with what are the average discounts this quarter and the export revenues for the quarter?
Average discounts this quarter is 15,161.
15,161. So sequentially, it seems to have gone up, right?
Sequentially, yes, it has gone up by about 1,000 rupees. Yeah.
Okay, and just on the export revenues for this quarter?
The figure is not in the public domain.
Okay, and just could you tell us what is the royalty rate for this quarter? I mean, and has there been, because there was a stock of royalty adjustment, so has that been actioned now?
The total for the year is about 5.5%.
So for Q1?
Okay, that is the management of Maruti. They're saying that they will wait and see how the demand shapes up and then take a call on whether to hike prices to pass on the commodity costs. For now, they'll be on hold. The demand situation continues to be quite good. But let's discuss the other big story that has broken. The Department of Telecom has now cleared the decks for the Vodafone Idea merger. As we know, with this merger, Vodafone and Idea will become the largest telecom company by revenues and by subscribers. They'll have 43 crore subscribers and 63,000 crores of revenues. Let's get an industry veteran on board to give us his view. Sanjay Kapoor joins in. Sanjay, good afternoon and thanks for joining in. The most important question, the merged entity, will it be able to tackle the kind of competition that we're seeing in the sector, and will they be able to eke out the kind of synergies that they had spoken about earlier?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're raising very pertinent questions. The fact is that on the positive side, there's a new market leader that emerges after this merger, and they dethrone Airtel from their numero uno position. But they have a large task to accomplish, because I think when it comes to rollout of 4G, they are the laggards behind both Jio and Airtel. And they have a lot of catch-up to do, a lot of investments to make, a lot of rollouts to make to happen. And I think to just maintain their number one position, because we have been seeing in the past couple of months they've been slipping, I think is an arduous task. And just to acquire a number one position for a little while is not worth anybody's salt. So I think they'll really have to make their resources, their money work much harder to retain their position. I think as far as India is concerned, it's already, I think, predetermined that this is going to be a war between three players. And till the time Voda Idea are able to amass their network and make it competitive, they will have to rely on tacticals and pricing and discounts to make sure they attract new customers and hold on to existing customers. So, there's not going to be any relenting on the pricing and the pricing power in this country for a while, it seems. And the market is now to be split between three players. Let's see at what stage do they all become equicized, and at what stage BSNL is forced to do what other marginal players have done, which is to declare itself bankrupt.
All right, Sanjay, thanks very much for your perspective. Let's see how the synergies actually come on board now that the approvals are coming in place for this deal. I think we also have Rima on the phone line. Rima, just run us through, what we can expect from here. Earlier, of course, we were also looking at the Vodafone numbers, for instance, for the quarter gone by. What do those numbers tell us about what perhaps lies ahead for this combined entity?
Well, let me just touch upon a few important points. One is the high debt, the high combined debt on the books. It will be more than 1 lakh crore rupees. As of FY18, it was 1.07 lakh crores. So FY18 net debt to EBITDA was as high as 7.75x. In fact, analysts tell me that if you need to make some adjustment to the adjusted net debt to EBITDA was in excess of 9 times. That's a very, very high figure. And going ahead, that number will only increase because the EBITDA is shrinking for the telecom players. Jio has entered into the postpaid market, and therefore the EBITDA will only come lower going ahead. And plus, Idea and Vodafone have combined made a payout to the DOT in excess of 7,000 crore rupees. So their cash balance has also shrunk. So the net debt to EBITDA going ahead is going to be much higher than what it's been. And that debt figure of more than 1 lakh crore rupees is going to be a major overhang. Secondly, with respect to the kind of synergies they can bring out. Now, it's been a little less than 2 years since the company announced that they plan to merge. At that time, the market share of the company was close to about 42%. It's now come down to 35%. Of course, Reliance Jio has played a large part. But basically what we're trying to say is that in the last 2 years, the competitive intensity has gone up. The industry revenues have fallen by close to about 25% from its peak. So the company that time had spoken about synergies of $10 billion, annual peak synergies of $2.1 billion in the 4th year of operation, of which 60% will be OPEX. Now the question that we're asking is, at a time when the revenues and EBITDA are shrinking, is that synergy expectation very high? Because $2.1 billion of peak synergy compares with actual $2 billion of EBITDA for the combined entity as of last year. Okay. And finally, keep your eye on Bharti Infratel as well, because the combined entity will look to rationalize their towers, so that could negatively impact Infratel.
Okay, thanks a lot for that, Reema. So that merger has finally come through. Bharti Infratel in focus. Idea is now up almost about 4%. Let's